to present the State of the University Address, Alan Davis.
Thank you, Mina, and thanks for agreeing to be MC. Let's pull that one out of the blue because she was in action at the School of Business award ceremonies, and I thought, well, there we are. Somebody who likes to be on stage just as much as I do. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here today. We have about 800. I think some are still on their way, either driving around looking for parking or trying to find the place. So I expect that some people will yet be arriving. Last October, I remember asking people, when do we get together? I don't know. We don't get together. It seemed odd to me not to get together when I was at VCC. They have VCC Day, they go to the Playhouse, everybody comes. At Niagara College, they have Niagara Day, which involves tasting the culinary school products, and also there was a whiskey tasting amongst the School of Hedonism, I call it. And at Empire State College, we actually had a 3-day extravaganza of professional development, sharing, fun, and events like this, including the state of the college, as that was called. And I thought it would be very important to try it here. If it doesn't work, let me know. I don't mind. And if the timing is bad, let us know. We really appreciate it. We'll probably put something on the website for you to fire comments in. We don't want to waste people's time, but I certainly feel, coming in, that to have everybody from every campus and every department and every faculty together at least once a year was worth the effort. And we're a very big institution. We are the largest teaching university in the West. We are the only polytechnic university in Canada. We serve the fastest growing region in British Columbia. We have a lot to be proud about, and a very complex organization. So I'm hoping, looking out at the sea of faces here, it really excites me to see what a big, diverse, and extraordinary university we are. Also, if any couples are here and you feel like getting married today, we have the place booked until 3. We can call. So my job is pretty simple. I want to review the past year and to present the future for KPU and what I think that means in the form of Vision 2018, which of course there are copies on your tables. This is the copy. There is one typo in there, which will be fixed for the public consumption. If you can find the typo, Arthur Fallick, there's an Arthur Fallick Memorial Award. Anyway, it has been an amazing year. Lots of change, as usual, much to celebrate. One way to take stock of the year is to read the board reports that are regularly posted with sections from each division and faculty. This was an effort to bridge the many, many initiatives across the university, and with the broad rhetoric of our vision and commitments and mission and mandate, and in so doing to support our own efforts to brag more often and effectively about KPU, both to each other and to the communities that we serve. Now, I could read highlights of these reports, which amount to over 300 pages, or we could watch the DVD. better than me reading 300 pages. And we thank our friends in marketing and communication for putting that together. Thanks very much to Anne. So, how am I doing here? New slide. There are 13 items overall, varying in all kinds of aspects of our life here as employees at KPU. Just a quick overview of the results. 5 are the same, that's why that's in amber-ish. 4 are up in the sense that we are doing better, and 4 are down. All in all, it's a kind of a stable situation. There's going to be a lot of analysis of this. I want to make sure that we use the results. They're very detailed, they're very useful by department, by faculty, as a university as a whole. And I've asked Harry to sort of convene a group to actually analyse this in a very open format so that we can learn from our engagement surveys. There are some measures in there that we'll be using in our strategic plan to measure our progress towards our goals. So it's very important that we analyse and act upon the results that we have. One of the very positive things regarding the climate that this reflects is in the attitudes towards, in a sense, the way we govern ourselves, the way that we support each other, and particularly with respect towards the leadership. And I would like to thank the people who have worked with me very closely this year to try and move the dial a bit on that. It's starting to show some impact on this particular survey. I wonder if all the members of Senate who have served this year would stand up and be thanked for their work. Stand up if you work. If I ask all the subcommittees, the standing committees of Senate to stand up, everyone will stand up. Now, there's a lot of other people who've done a lot of work over the years in supporting our bicameral governance. We've really benefited a lot from my engagement with the KFA. I know Terry's here. You here, Terry? Stand up. Thank you very much, Terry. And the same with the GEU. Is Sean here? Stand up, Sean. Also the KSA, it's been a very interesting and great learning process for me to interact with the KSA. And Chris Girodad is here, and Jared Penland, if you wouldn't mind standing and receiving our thanks, appreciate it. There is, of course, my colleagues on the board and the administration have been incredibly supportive and really worked hard with me and listened to me and questioned me appropriately, so I didn't make too many big fumbles this year. But the main task for me today is to launch Vision 2018. There's a copy on your table. This is the document that the board approved 2 days ago. You are the first to see it. There is one typo, the Arthur Fallock Memorial Award. If you want to tell me, if you find it, tell Arthur. Don't tell me. But the fact is that this was an incredible process. It started with a strategic planning task force in September. There was a strategy group, a scenario group, internal and external groups. I've been talking about this to anybody who would stop long enough to listen. An academic planning task force is now in place. Faculty councils have been involved in developing faculty plans. We had 8 town halls, Senate endorsement on April the 29th, board approval on June the 5th, and a total of about, over 700 people were involved in the development of this plan. It's pretty well the size of this room, if you really want to know. So that's pretty serious engagement. We had a lot of great feedback, and I do want to thank 3 people who without whom this wouldn't have come together. Kathleen Bigsby, Ariana Arguello, and Queenie Chang, if she's here. Those 3 were very much the team. So this is the official internal launch of the plan. External and community launches will occur throughout the summer. And there will be a community report going out in September to all the local newspapers in our region. And you'll see a distillation of Vision 28. It's important that we share it externally so people understand what our ambitions are. We restated our mission. The fact is that we intend to serve all learners who come to us. We want them to achieve success in a diverse range of programs. We want to stay as comprehensive as possible. Programs that blend theory and practice, critical understanding and social and ethical awareness necessary for good citizenship and rewarding careers. Those two elements, those two big outcomes. Ready for your career, your future, but also ready to become an engaged citizen. So in terms of what that means for us is to be both a polytechnic and a university, and we already know that the university college derived from a community college, a new hybrid of institution where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So instead of, and I'm trying to get over the idea of explaining to people, well, we're a bit of this, we're a bit of this, a bit of that. We're actually all these together and more. By having them together in one institution is the power that we have. And we had some friends from Sweden here yesterday. It was very interesting, without prompting. They looked at us and they looked at the mandate and they said, that is incredible. This is amazing that you have this breadth of program and you can do all these things that most institutions simply can't do because you're able to work across different aspects of higher learning, all within the same institution. The vision that we've crafted is to be Canada's leading polytechnic university, with all learners engaging in campus and community life, being open, creating open and creative learning environments with relevant scholarship and research, inspiring educators, and authentic relationships. I joke a bit about being the only polytechnic university in Canada, therefore the best polytechnic university in Canada. We actually want to, by 2018, be able to state that without it being a joke. People understand that, and here's why we are the leading polytechnic university, perhaps not just in Canada, but compared to some of our comparators around the world. The strength words, I think, are very important. Engaging, open, creative, relevant, inspiring, and authentic. I think it was Anita, who was on our visioning team, said these are the strength words in the vision that we have. Really does resonate with me, and I hope it does with you. But then we have to take that vision, that's all well and good. How do we translate this? And this graphic, and you'll see the various goals are coming up, was developed by our own graphic design for marketing students, and we are going to be using it quite widely to show that our vision is really in three parts. We're going to focus on quality, reputation, and relevance, and each of those itself have three goals. Successful global citizens, we want to be able to have that as an outcome of our programs. Engaged learners, and to be an effective organization. So quality both to our learners, but also to each other. A reputation that is where we're recognized for our teaching and scholarship, where our unique identity is recognized and understood, and that we have continuing professional education that supports our reputation across the communities that we serve. And then relevance, of course, this is very much high on the topic for us. Being engaged with the community, you'll see that we have a bold goal with respect to what our community engagement might mean in the future. Expanded educational access, that is, we need to grow with our communities, and programs that blend theory and practice to make sure, as a defining feature of a polytechnic university, every student gets real-world experience. Let's have a look at these in a little bit of detail, and I really don't want to slog through this because some of you have heard it many, many times, some of you can recite it by heart, and some of you can take the material away and sleep with it under your pillow so it absorbs into your mind. There will, by the way, be a short kind of brochure on the Vision 2018, which will distribute widely, which will be made perhaps more healthy as you're out and about, helpful as you're out and about in the community, talking about this with your friends and neighbours. All KPU graduates, so there are 9 goals. And we are going to measure and track progress towards those goals. All KPU graduates are well prepared for successful citizenship. So every program has clear and relevant outcomes, and our graduates can demonstrate that these outcomes have been achieved. And we need to work on what those outcomes are. What are the outcomes that are appropriate for global citizens ready for work in the 21st century? A lot of people have done a lot of work on this. We just need to kind of craft it in our language. The second goal on equality is that we become actually a better organization that is sustainable, integrated, transparent, and it supports learning. That we understand that our whole reason for being here is to help students learn, and we organize our administrative, our back-end operations, our governance, etc., always with that focus. And I think that's going to be a work in progress. I think we're making progress. We already have done this year, but it's going to be very, very important that we look to ourselves to be a better institution in order to meet our mission. And the third one is to make sure that we can measure the progress that our students are making with respect to their success at KPU, whether it's retention, whether it's engagement with the campus, and we already do a lot of measures around this. We're going to combine some indicators based on those measures that we can then track progress. We want to move the dial on students staying with us, being successful with us, and being engaged with our campuses and with their studies. The second theme is relevance. The impact of KPU's community engagement has doubled. It's a very, well, first of all, we've got to measure what our current impact is, and then we want to double it. And there's all kinds of ways that we can do that. But we want to make sure that we can understand and track, and I'll have a little speech later on about how we need to share and talk to each other more about what exactly it is that we're doing, because it's hard to keep track of things in this institution. Assess the impact and then tell our story. And once we understand what it is that the impact we're having on our communities, tell that story over and over again. And build our community relationships and build all the things that will actually support our communities. Some of these will be individual student experiences as part of experiential learning. In some cases, there'll be partnerships with communities, some major partnerships that we'll undertake in order to expand and promote our mandate. Secondly, that our operations support purposeful and sustainable learner FTE growth of at least 5% annually. So we want to, by increasing retention, doing the quality measure, will also increase our growth because it's easier to retain a student than to recruit one. But we have a growing region. We expect to grow international. There's a lot of opportunities internationally, not just to replace our domestic mandate, which of course is primary, but actually to support and enhance that. And also continuing professional education. I don't know if Jim is here. Jim Cole. It's a bit early for him. But he's just been appointed. I mean, it's a bit early in his. He starts on the 24th, thank you very much. And also we need to continue to ask the government to support FTE growth. In the fastest growing region of BC, we should put more seats south of the Fraser in post-secondary education, and we are the South Fraser Institution of Public Education. This one I spoke to, experiential learning is integrated into every KPU program. I don't think that's difficult to do. And there's a very, very broad definition of what we mean by that. But we do want our students to leave, not having sat in the classroom for 4 years or 2 years, and not realizing the impact of their learning, the connection of their learning to the outside world. The third theme is reputation. We want to be internationally recognized both for our teaching and for our scholarship, and we have a very broad definition of scholarship. We are going to sustain and support that broad definition, and whether it's the scholarship of teaching and learning or the scholarship of discovery. We're so pleased to see we've got our first candidate research chair, Dan Bernstein. Extraordinary step forward for the university. And we are very proud that Dan is a member of our faculty. But there's all kinds of scholarship going on in this institution. I don't think we even know what's going on half the time. We've got to document that, and we want to move the dial on it and support people appropriately. The next one is our unique identity. I know we talk a lot about, people still say, well, what's a polytechnic university? We're going to continue to try and get that really clearly defined so that we understand completely across the institution what that means, and also our communities understand what that means. And there's no more, well, what is that? I think it's changing already, but we've a way to go. We want to be able to understand ourselves and be able to tell people and for them to understand. It's very important part of our reputation. And thirdly, we want to be the foremost provider of continuing professional education. The thing there is that we just need to do it. We've now hired an executive director of continuing professional education who has some incredible experience he's going to be able to bring to the university, and we're looking forward to some great things in partnership with all of the faculties, of course. So I just wanted to talk about some of the implications. First of all, of course, metrics. We are going to have to use some existing surveys. We are going to have to create some new surveys and some new measures of retention. Kathleen and her team are already working on this. We presented to the board the other night, and even though there are still a lot of question marks, they think they have a pretty good understanding that we know what the challenge is here. But we will be measuring our progress. This isn't going to be a strategic plan that gets piled on the shelf to collect dust. We'll be reporting out to you, we'll be reporting to the board, to see how we're making progress towards our goals. And you know what? It's a plan. If we don't make progress or we don't meet the goals, at least we'll understand why and we'll understand what we have to do. Or we can change when next time we come to revise this, we'll realise we missed the target this time. But if you don't have those metrics, your plan is really just empty rhetoric. Student life. The Foundations of Excellence report is now being transposed into the first year initiative. Is that what it means? First year? Yes, first year initiative. Very clever. FOE as FYI. Jane and Ron have been working on this, distilling all those recommendations, a wide number of recommendations. I'm working with a diversity group to look at the diversity issues that came out of that, and that group is going to be meeting several times this summer to come up with some real strategies with respect to how we approach diversity, with respect to policy, etc. And certainly I think we need to do something. I think our student population, as every institution's population, is going to start changing more to the adult learner. We have some time relative to other institutions on this, but we need to make the campus and the university as inviting to adult learners, which means doing some things differently relative to the 18 to 24-year-olds, but something I think these are just my ideas about some of the things that we probably want to pay attention to. Certainly not, I'm not trying to limit other possibilities there. Teaching of learning, of course, this is our core business, and we have Diane Salter is here. Do you want to stand up, Diane? If you haven't met Diane, she's the Vice Provost Teaching and Learning, just arrived. We are about to, in fact, we're going to do it right now. We're going to launch the Institute for Innovation and Scholarship in Teaching and Learning, ISTL, and consider it launched. With my blessing. That is going to lead the development, the innovation, and the support of teaching and learning, including the use of technology, but not driven by that. Embracing technology is appropriate to enhance and diversify and improve our teaching and learning models. It may involve blended hybrid, the so-called flipped classes, and to move to some more open and flexible models, particularly for instance, adult learners. And I put in not your grandmother's PLAR, because PLA, you probably remember PLA, Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition, is taking on a whole new meaning and a whole new life. And there's a serious opportunity for us here, particularly with adult learners, but in other ways too, for us to show that we can connect what people learn in the rest of their lives to what they would learn at Polytechnic University. I know there are some people in the institution keenly interested in this, and I'm hoping that with Diane here we can have more conversations about that too. One of the
key issues about being a better organization is to actually have a series of plans that all link together, that there aren't bits of plans lying around and they don't add up. Starting with this plan, the others then have to nest within that. The first and probably the most important is the academic plan. That's well underway, and we're hoping to have that rolled out, certainly for the preliminary part of the strategic plan lifetime in the fall. It's going to involve programming, research and scholarship, teaching and learning, academic support, enrollment planning, student life. It's a very broad plan. It really is the operational side of the institution. But there are also others where we're working on lean and effective back-end operations. Harry's got a lean, something or other with lean process. Yeah, the steering committee, trying to make sure everything is as efficient as possible in the back end to support the main mandate. And externally, we need to make sure that we're building a really good team in marketing and recruitment, external affairs. It's across several different portfolios right now. We need to make sure that those teams are really working effectively as we go forward. Alignment of resources. Increasingly, right now we tend to align resources by what's requested from faculties or departments, programs or services. We're going to invert that. We're going to ask people, actually, you need to align your requests with the goal. How are you going, with any new money that you get or any shuffling of resources that you get, how is that going to help us meet our goals? And by campus, I think we need to kind of say, how is this improving life at that campus, as opposed to sort of vaguely just adding money to a faculty that's spread across. We're going to start paying more attention to the campuses, which is probably my next slide. When I've talked about this a bit, I put out a posting on the communicator, and I had the feedback I've got is worth a book, actually. A lot of very interesting essays from people in response to the idea of creating identities, KPU Langley, KPU Surrey, KPU Richmond, and for Cloverdale, perhaps tweaking it to become something notionally called KPU Tech. A lot of interest in that, but also some real cautions. Very thoughtful stuff. I'm going to try and work on that and distill it down and sort of reflect upon it. But the fact is that when I go out and about, certainly talking to our municipal leaders, they want a university. Richmond wants a university, deserves a public university. It's of a size, if it was in the US, it would have a research university, a state university, a community college, a technical college, and probably a couple of privates. A city that size. Richmond is a city, it deserves, now it's got the SkyTrain and people go back and forth and this, that, and the other. But we are the University of Richmond. We need to make sure that they understand we're there. When I was at the Mayor's State of the City address in Surrey recently, we had an ad in the program, which Joanne must have put in. It was quite brilliant. Was it you? It was an ad. It was the usual, nice pictures of one. It said, KPU Surrey, your university, and it startled me. I opened it up. Take that, SFU. This is your university here in Surrey. I want the mayor to think, probably the most powerful woman in British Columbia right now. I want you to think of KPU Surrey as your university. And of course you also have, a very, one of the best trade and technical facilities probably anywhere in Cloverdale. We want to make that very much part of
Now, having said that, there's still one university. That's why it's important to meet like this. We will only have one curriculum. The Senate's not going to be approving curriculums for different campuses. There are certain programs that are located at certain campuses, but we're not going to have history in Surrey versus history in Langley. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. There'll be one Senate, one KFA, one GEU, one KSA, one administration, one president, I hope. But we do need to use technology better to connect with each other in all kinds of ways. There's only one committee that I sit on a lot, that uses technology, uses video conferencing to meet so that people aren't driving up and down Highway 10 to meet one. It's perfectly good technology. can see everybody at the other end, we can hear everybody at the other end. How come we're not using that? I think we need to take the next step and really make sure that every time we think, do I need to drive to Langley? Do I need to drive to Cloverdale to have this meeting? Certainly, I mean, maybe it's my issue. You know, they call me the Prius president because that's where my office is.
But there's a lot of people traveling back and forth. Maybe it's an administrative thing. I hope if it's true also to support staff and faculty, then we need to do something about it.
Anyway, I will give you feedback. I'll distill that feedback about the campus identity. And I thought it was very, very interesting. One person said, don't make us a smaller university by doing this. Don't fragment us and make us look, it's hard enough to keep our profile. There is a real need to be seen as a big university. And then alongside that, the matrix there is then also to be very community focused, engage with our communities one by one. We're also talking a little bit about satellites.
Is there a possibility, we're looking at city centre, for instance, we have no profile in city centre, SFU Surrey is there, of course, with all the glamour, Douglas is there,
with its contract service stuff. Whether there's an opportunity for us to be a city centre. I'm not quite sure what it means right now. Either be program focused or it will be some kind of regional or learning centre where people can come in and do certain things, maybe have some seminars, etc., some front-end services. It's got to be meaningful. It might take a few times to do. We're talking to Phoenix House about a new facility they're building where we could have a really, really nice connection with them involving fine arts as well. Health technology, we are at the table with the health technology issue here in Surrey, and it's located, we're talking about this innovation boulevard between SFU Surrey and Surrey Memorial. They want us there because they do know that we have a role to play in developing that industry in Surrey. And down in Morgan Heights, White Rock, I mean that South Surrey area, there is so much going on down there. The growth is extraordinary, and there are opportunities for us to have. When you look at the map of Surrey, right now, there's an enormous growth, a big area of population down there that we could be serving much better without people having to travel across the region, which is getting harder and harder. And Richmond, there is a possibility on Sea Island Way. It was a very preliminary discussion to see whether or not there's 2 stops from the SkyTrain to our campus for a major investment in residence, which we would, in a sense, benefit from hugely for all kinds of reasons, and without having to run around trying to get the capital together. So we're looking at a lot of things. Don't be surprised if you start seeing some of these things being talked about. Some final thoughts, maybe, before I hand it over to my colleagues, Tara and Todd. Vision 28, just let me have another go at this. Our mission is our purpose as a polytechnic university. Our vision statement and goals represent our ambitions as a polytechnic university. Our strategies are our priorities of action, and our values guide the way we work. And I did refer to the values here, but they are in the, they are very prominent and have been restated in the material that we have. And it's interesting because in my performance evaluation, there's the usual stuff, you know, does the president do this or this? And one of the key questions is, does the president reflect in his work the values of the organization? This is the values. It's very interesting. Kind of interesting for me to do a self-evaluation. The Vision 2018 is intended to provide both clarity and inspiration, building on and harnessing our strengths to make KPU the best institution of its kind in Canada, teaching and learning centered, community engaged, and enriched by research and scholarship. We will be reporting on our progress towards Vision 2018 twice a year, but its success will depend on the extent to which it helps provide a collective sense of purpose across KPU, and the extent to which it inspires and enables individual and collective action. Although it is a university-wide vision, its success will depend on each of you seeing yourself within it. There should be a clear line of sight between you and your work and the goals of KPU. And it should help each of you see how you can contribute to the future of KPU as a leading agent of change and an essential contributor in addressing the societal needs of our region and beyond. And if you can't see that line of sight, talk to us. Because then we fail. If you can't see that connection, something's wrong, we need to fix it so that you can see the connection between your work and the future of KPU as stated here.
KPU is a complex institution because the region we are mandated to serve is complex. I believe my job is to avoid adding to that complexity and instead to provide clarity and direction. We have so much history and innovation and engagement to build on, but with 4 campuses and many divisions within our organization, there is too much fragmentation. The division will need everyone to talk about, document, and share what they are doing, thinking, and planning so we can bring it together. Some may see some sort of dark agenda in asking for such information. This is because of the lack of trust. Well, then I have to earn your trust, and there is no dark agenda. Rather, the intention is to make sense, to share, and to avoid duplication of effort, to brag and to present back to each other and to our communities the power of KPU as a synergistic and engaged polytechnic university. And my last point is this. It's a bit of a shock, maybe a shock to some of you. We're changing our domain. It's a moment in time, I think. We have the domain kpu.ca. In this world, this digital world, it's a lot quicker and simpler to move to KPA with no loss of sense of our heritage with respect to the Quantum First Nation and the Quantum name, which is still a very powerful abbreviation of Quantum Polytechnic University. But we'll be moving from the use of quantum.ca to kpu.ca for our email addresses and our web domain. Do not be alarmed about losing emails, or you might be hopeful of losing emails. Our friends in IET will make sure that current emails will be forwarded for a considerable amount of time. You won't lose track of that long-lost cousin. They will still, your current email. But as we, renew our business cards, as we update our web pages, as we start talking to each other over the next few months, it'll become, I hope, intuitive that we'll say, yes, I am blah, blah, blah at kpu.ca. We'll be changing this gradually through letterheads and business cards and posters, etc. But this is something I wanted to announce today. It does reflect a move into the future. It aligns with our Vision 2018. And if something goes wrong, blame IET.